Eagles, number 32, Sleik Arrington. For Oregon, 6'6" from Summit High School. Mountain Valley first team selection and first team All-State tournament selection, averaging 16 points and 6 rebounds a game. He'll be attending Chico State this fall, number 44, Kaden Harris. For Washington, 6'8"
They're just naming
High School. The 2022 Mr. Basketball for the state.
Can you hear me in your headset?
A two-time MCC Player of the Year, the 2022 Defensive Player of the Year, averaging 23 points and 10 rebounds a game, attending Oregon State University this fall, number 30, Tyler Milano. For Oregon, 6'5" from North Medford High School, first team all-conference selection, averaging 13 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, number 32, Bryce Dyer. For Washington, 6'5" from Auburn High School, a two-time All-League selection, the NPSC League MVP and 3A State Player of the Year. He's a Tacoma News Tribune All-Area selection, averaging 18 points and 7 rebounds a game, number 41, Trey Blessington. For Oregon, 6 feet from Summit High School, the 2022 Mountain Valley Conference Player of the Year and first team all-conference, averaging 17.7 rebounds and 3 assists per game, attending Seattle Pacific University this fall, number 4, Julian Mora. For Washington, 6'2" from Central Valley High School, the MVP of the GSL, he was selected the Washington Player of the Year, averaging 33 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals a game, number 33, Dylan Darling. For Oregon, 6'9" from Sprague High School, selected first team All-MVC in 2022, averaging 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 steals a game, number 42, Dallin Morgan. For Washington, 6'5" from Camas High School, a WICA All-State selection and 2022 Conference Co-MVP, a 2-year All-Conference, All-Academic Team member, averaging 22 points and 6 rebounds, number 42, Carson Frawley. For Oregon, 5'9" from Churchill High School, the 2022 Midwestern MVP, a first-team conference selection and conference player of the year, averaging 20 points, 4 steals, and 6 assists per game. He'll be attending the College of Idaho this fall, number 13, Samaje Morgan. For Washington, from North Kitsap High School, the 2022 WIBCA Player of the Year, a 2-time OLY League MVP, averaging 27 points and 10 rebounds, attending Seattle Pacific University this fall, number 44, Jonas Latour. For Oregon, 6'1" from Tualatin High School, a Les Schwab All-Tournament selection, second team All-6A State Tournament selection, and the player of the game in the championship game, averaging 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists, number 12, Noah Oakley. For Washington, 5'10" from Union High School, league co-MVP, selected Columbian Regional Player of the Year, averaging 18 points and 5 assists, and attending Vanguard in the fall, number 31, Bryson Metz. For Oregon, 6'11" from Mountain View High School, averaging 16 points and 9 rebounds per game, wearing number 00, Tane Krechter. For Washington, 6'7" from Mount Si High School, first team All-Kinko selection and the 2022 Kinko Defensive Player of the Year, averaging 15 points and 6 rebounds a game, attending UC San Diego this fall, number 35, Quinn Patterson. For Oregon, 6 feet from Tualatin High School, the 2022 Defensive Player of the Year and first team All-Three Rivers League, attending Oregon State University this fall, number 14, Jaden Stevens. For Oregon, 6'5" from Portland's Roosevelt High School, second team All-League selection, averaging 13 points and 5 rebounds a game, number 33, Donatello Tupper. For Washington, 6'3" from Graham-Kapowson High School, selected first team, SPSL All-League and WIBCA All-State guard, averaging 17 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, and 3 steals, and attending Fresno State University this fall, number 13, Joshua Wood. And from Oregon, 6'2" from Westland High School, first team, all 3 Rings League selection, averaging 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, number 25, Zeke Bukola. Our coaches for today's game from Washington, head coach Blake Conley, assistant coaches Connie Richardson and Joe Kinch. And from Oregon, head coach Larry Doty, assistant coaches Dominic Doty and Bubba Lemon. Our officials for today's game, Stetson James, Heath Powell, and Dave Williams.
Fantastic day for basketball as we welcome you inside Liberty High School in Hillsboro, Oregon for the WAVOR Northwest Senior Showcase in boys basketball. I'm Bryan Sleik, joined by James Broadous, and we've got your call this afternoon. Looking up and down at these rosters, James, we've got tons of talent on the court, multiple Division I offers and commits, and a chance to play one last time at the high school level. It's a big time showcase for both of these teams. We've got kids that played against each other in the state championship games that are now teammates in this cross-state battle between Washington and Oregon. What are you looking forward to today?
I'm just looking forward to an exciting game. Again, I love all-star games. Everybody can play wherever the ball moves. It lands in the hands of somebody that can do something with it. So I'm anticipating a very exciting up-and-down basketball game.
First shot goes up and it falls for Bilodeau. The starters for both sides today for Washington: Jonas Latour, Trey Blasingame, Dylan Darling, Joshua Wood, and Tyler James Bilodeau. Bilodeau opened up the scoring for both teams. Kicked it out to Caden Harris behind the arc, gets back iron, rebound Washington. On the court for Oregon, going up for the layup, no good. Stays with Washington, inside, and the basket's good for Latour. On the court for Oregon, Caden Harris, Julian Mora, Noah Agoli, Tane Prichter, and Malik Ross. Now, I just mentioned a couple of these guys that are now teammates in this game. They played against each other in the state title game. That's Mora and Harris played for Summit, and then you have Agoli and Ross for Oregon. They played for Tualatin High School. Those two played in the 6A state title game that Tualatin won, their first in school history.
You know, with the way basketball is nowadays, although you play for different high schools, with all the travel teams, with all the AAU teams, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these players have played with each other before. And so this is not going to be the first time that they play with each other. And so there should be some level of familiarity.
It's Caden Harris missing the second free throw. Darling bringing it up the court, the Washington State commit, averaged 33 points per game this season.
33, that's unbelievable.
Exactly. Up and rebound for Oregon.
You know, if you can average 15 in high school, you're doing something. But if he's averaging 33, that's doing something on an extra level.
You want to talk about beating a big-time name. As Prichter inside using his body, but he can't connect. Saved for Washington. But Darling, he broke Adam Morrison's single game and single season points record at their high school, at Central Valley High School. One and done for Washington. Mora, the floater from the free throw line, all iron. Right now, a lot of back and forth between these two teams going up and down the court. Not a lot of baskets so far as the three falls, a deep one from Latour.
You know, you can see he got that ball, he got it and let it go with no hesitation. This is like something that he's saying, this is what I do. You know, there was no hesitation in that shot, nothing but net. Ooh.
Ross, the finish at the dish. Ross from Tualatin High School helped the Timberwolves get their first state championship in basketball just a few weeks ago inside the Child Center. Blasingame, what a finish.
Trey Blasingame, I think he's going to have his imprint all across this basketball game.
Blasingame undecided on where he's going in the fall, but holds offers from Washington State, Long Beach State, and Alaska Fairbanks. Harris inside to Prichter on the block, has the size advantage. The left-hand hook is good.
You know, at 6'11", he's going to be a matchup problem for anyone. And I'm surprised that he has not made a commitment on where he wants to do next year. But I'm sure he's going to have some offers.
Rebound put back in by Bilodeau, the Oregon State commit. In 2022, Mr. Basketball in the state of Washington. Mora, the deep three, front iron. Right now, it just seems like Oregon working quickly with the shot clock that they have going in today's game. They've only set themselves up for one or two easy shots. It just hasn't fallen yet.
You know, we're not used to playing with a shot clock here in Oregon. And maybe they've thought about it a little bit too much, and they could take a little bit of time to get some better shots. But again, that Washington team is playing pretty solid defense.
Great defense on the baseline by Latour to cause the turnover. And terrific passing from Washington, from Joshua Wood. And the finish by Dylan Darling. And a timeout called for Oregon as they trail by 9. Not even 4 minutes into this game right now, but Washington seems to be the more complete team at the moment, getting their teammates involved.
Well, you know, I have the opportunity to watch the Washington team practice, and so what I'm seeing right here doesn't surprise me from what I saw for 2 hours yesterday. They were getting up and down the court. They have a lot of good athletes. There were a couple just regular drills that they were doing, and these guys were dunking every layup. There was no regular layups, you know, and so they're getting up and down the court. The coach was trying to get them to continue to play with each other and move the basketball, and you can see it showing off right here.
Well, if you're Oregon, what are you trying to do right now? You just called the timeout with Washington continuing to run up and down the court. How do you try to stop Washington at the moment?
Well, right now you try to draw up a play that you can execute here on this out of bounds. You want to get a bucket, an easy bucket, get your guys, get the ball probably inside. That's where you have your biggest advantage right now. But you want to make sure that you just get some good execution coming out of this timeout and sort of calm your team down.
So Julian Mora brings the ball up, the Seattle Pacific commit from Summit High School near Bend, Oregon. Got it near the baseline, gave it up to Prichter, and it ends up as a turnover. Oregon gets it back. Ross to Prichter, the jam!
In an all-star game, you don't see people challenging dunks usually. Joshua Wood come from behind, tried to block that. And, again, that's the type of intensity you're going to see in this game. This isn't just a free-flowing basketball game. Both these teams want to win.
Ball up. Prichter gets the rebound. One and done for Washington. Harris is a big that can handle the ball. And he'll be going to Chico State in the fall. Great give up to Prichter again. The dunk.
Caden Harris playing playmaker right there. You know, if he can do that at Chico State, they're going to be really excited to have it.
The corner three falls for Latour. Yeah, I had a chance to watch Caden Harris in that state championship game at the Child Center, and you're right, he really does it all, despite his size. As he stands at 6'6", great ball handling skills and the ability to find his teammates down the court. As Latour again finishing at the hoop. Goalie past his man, the touch off the glass.
Oakley went right back at him, right to the basket, right on Joshua Wood, and Jay Wood is a very good defensive player.
Blasingame slapped the ball out of a goalie's hands, and now we're going to have a fresh 5. Bryce Dyer, Dallin Morgan, Samaje Morgan, Donatello Tupper, and Zeke Vukula on the court for Oregon. For Washington, Quinn Patterson, Jaden Stevens, Malik Arrington, Bryson Metz, and Carson Frawley now on the court. So both teams going with a fresh five. We saw that with the girls' game at 1 o'clock earlier today. And with these 20-minute halves, probably the best thing you could do to keep fresh legs going on the court for your squad, as Vukula had it taken away from him. Finish at the hoop for Carson Frawley, the senior from Camas High School.
And you can see the pace is picking up right now.
Oregon almost got the offensive rebound. Washington with it now. So they keep it on the outside. Corner three goes up. And that's it for this possession for Washington. Dyer gives it up to Samaje Morgan. Tough take, and he gets fouled by number 31, Bryson Metz.
Samaje Morgan putting the pressure on the defense right there. You know, they're trying to get the ball up and down the court, but sometimes you just can't settle for three-pointers. Even though this is that type of a game where you want to show all your whole repertoire moves, you still got to be able to get to the basket, get to the free throw line, put some pressure on the defense and on the officials to make some calls.
Samaje Morgan went to Churchill High School. He'll be going to the College of Idaho next fall, averaging 20 points, 6 assists, and 4 steals. So an 11-point lead for Washington. Morgan up the court, transition, three, and it goes. Washington will keep it on the outside. Frawley gives it up. Back outside, and Quinn Patterson. Mid-range game for Washington. Vukula with it.
Quinn Patterson can shoot it. After practice yesterday, the practice was over. Most people were getting their shoes and stuff together. He was still out on the court getting shots up, trying to find somebody to rebound the basketball for him.
Washington moves the ball up quickly in transition. Skip pass. Arrington with it. Stevens, that three ball long. Oregon in transition in the pass near the feet of Vukula and out of bounds. It'll be Washington basketball.
Now that was setting up to be a highlight film right there. We talked about it at halftime of the girls' game. Donatello Tupper running that, filling that lane. You can throw the ball off the backboard. You can throw the ball up anywhere near the rim, and he will go get it. I think they got a little bit excited right there.
Metz with it now as Washington keeps it on the outside. Frawley with it. And almost blocked from behind, but Jaden Stevens with the finish. The senior going to Oregon State in the fall.
They worked the mismatch down there.
And we're going to have a foul before the shot on Washington.
Washington foul charge to number Carson Frawley.
42, so it goes on Carson Frawley, the inbound for Oregon. Shot off the mark for Dallin Morgan, and that'll be Washington basketball.
It's out of bounds play right there. It's sort of like I call it American, because everybody in America run that play. It's a sort of high-low that everybody is doing off the out of bounds, out of a 1-4 set, and I'm sure Washington will run some form of it as well.
Arrington gives it up to Frawley, who knocks down the three.
Frawley has no hesitation.
He's got the green light ready to go. Now it's a 15-point lead for Washington. Vukula wants to answer with a three of his own. He's short. Floater off the glass, no good. Tip back in. Arrington. Samaje Morgan with the ball right now, the smallest man on the court between these two teams as he stands at 5'9". Mid-range game, he's short. Rebound Metz. Strong take by Jaden Stevens. He gets fouled. He'll head to the line for two. Foul called on number 32, Bryce Dyer, called for the foul.
You know, again, that's just athlete versus athlete, basketball player versus basketball player. Good, solid defense. You know, he pushed him to outside of the key, but Jaden Stevens, with that type of athleticism, is still able to get the ball towards the basket and get a foul call.
Stevens went to Gonzaga Prep. He'll be going to Oregon State in the fall, averaging 20.5 points per game to go along with 7 rebounds. It's a 67% free throw shooter.
Another Oregon State Beaver commit?
That is correct. There are 2 of them on Washington's team. Tyler James Bilodeau is the other Beaver to be. Vukula double teamed, now in the paint, trying to get it up and slapped away by Jaden Stevens. Ball will stay with Oregon.
I think that was one of those calls where I'm not going to call the foul, but I will give you the ball back right there. Shooters are like, hey, man, we'll call the foul.
Let me get to the line.
Right.
And a foul called. Dallin Morgan will now head to the line. Foul called on number 35, Quinn Patterson. Dallin Morgan, 6'9" senior out of Sprague High School, undecided on where he's going. He does hold an offer from Montana State. Averaged 23 points and 10 rebounds as a senior, first team All-League. And he was Sportsbook Live's Player of the Week throughout the season when he had a 32-point, 14-rebound performance over South Salem.
32 points, that's legit.
He goes 1 for 2 from the free throw line. Well, James, you were here for the girls' game, which Washington almost won by 40 points. Washington right now is holding a nearly 20-point lead. You know, in both games, what has Washington really done that set themselves apart from Oregon?
Well, one, they're playing together more. You know, they are sharing the basketball. They're looking to get each other involved. I don't think that Oregon is not, but they're not doing it as well as Washington. And we saw in the girls' game there were 19 assists handed out there in the first half. On the Washington side of the ball, and you know, and I think that's what they just sort of, again, made that effort to get everyone involved.
Morgan shot, trying to go up and under, got the front of the rim. Beauty of a spin move, but he can't finish it. Dylan Darling missed that shot. And Tupper able to corral that ball in, even with 2 defenders by him, finishes with the left hand and 2. Darling gives it up to Arrington. Off balance shot, mid-range goes.
He's a shot maker right there. He can put the ball in the basket.
Foul called on the ground. Called on number 31, Bryson Metz. As Jonas Latour and Tyler James Bilodeau now checking back in for Washington. A goalie, Caden Harris, Prichter, Ross, and Mora back on the court for Oregon. So fresh 5 for Oregon.
It's interesting with the substitutions. Nice pass right there. Just a draw and drop off. That's 3 dunks right there for Prichter.
Hey, you talked about it a couple minutes ago. He is that force inside that is going to be difficult for Washington, and you've seen him convert 3 dunks now, like you just mentioned. Washington's having a hard time getting him to move inside the paint. Almost the putback by Jaden Stevens. Harris transition, no good.
He should get a point for that anyway. They should right now just give him a point for that, for the attempt.
Now he gets the putback after the miss from Bilodeau. The goalie was the Les Schwab Invitational All-Tournament team member, second team All-State. Was the most outstanding player in the state title game for Tualatin.
You love to see that, guys that can play big in big games. You know he's good and he's already a great basketball player, but do you elevate your game at the highest level?
And 1 for Malik Ross. Ross was a first team All-League selection this past season. Also the league defensive player of the year. He's He's undecided on where he was going, but he's averaging 13.5 points, almost 4 rebounds, and he shoots at nearly 72% from the free throw line. Can't convert the three-point play. And Oregon's really struggling from the free throw line. There's been multiple times they're only shooting 50%. Blasingame with it. Bilodeau on the block, had the mismatch that he wanted going up against a goalie, but he lost it as he went up.
Washington's doing a very good job of finding the mixed matches and exploiting the mismatches, getting the ball down low right there to Bilodeau. That would have probably been 2 points had he not lost the ball on the way up.
Joshua Wood checks in for Washington. 8 minutes to go until halftime. A 16-point lead for Washington. A goalie crosses up his man, picks up the ball, gives it up to Caden Harris. Puts up the three, and he knocks it down. The senior from Summit High School.
Look at, he's got an NBA body right now. Look at that. He's 6'6". We've seen him handling the ball up the court. We've seen him drop off the dimes underneath, but now we're seeing him shoot the three. Again, he's showing all of his moves and all of his ability in this game.
He was part of that two-headed monster for Summit High School this season. They were undefeated all the way through the regular season as Blasingame knocked down the mid-range and got all the way to the state title game before they fell to Tualatin and spoiling their undefeated season. But Caden Harris was a large reason on why they got there, along with his teammate on the court right now, Julian Mora.
You have those guys. If you have those guys on your basketball team, it makes everybody else feel more comfortable about their role as well. You know that you can always count on this. Look at this guy. Oh.
And we have a travel.
That was a little more than a travel. He was doing the electric slide out there, and the referees saw it.
So Joshua Wood, the senior from Graham-Kapowsin High School, brings the ball up for Washington. Darling to the corner to Blasingame. Gives it up to Bilodeau. Blocked by Prichter. Harris to a goalie. That's a college three. No good. Dylan Darling takes it to the hoop, gets fouled. He'll head to the line for two.
He gets downhill really fast, and he's again, he's putting pressure on that Oregon defense, and he's got that nice spin move. It's compact. He's able to come out of it under control, put the ball right up at the basket, and draw a foul.
Well, we were just talking moments ago about how he's averaging 33 points per game this season as he knocks down the free throw, an 80% free throw shooter. It's pretty impressive to have one 50-point game. He has multiple 50-point games this season as he has been shooting lights out for Central Valley High School. 50-point
basketball games are not easy to come by, and especially at the high school level. Again, if you score 16, 17 points, you're first team all league. If you're scoring 50, you're on a whole nother level.
Mora getting inside, he's in the paint, gives it up to a goalie, the corner three. And that'll be one and done for Oregon. Blasingame quickly up the court. The alley-oop and the finish for Dylan Darling.
And Joshua Wood, or J-Dub as they were calling him, he keeps his head up. All the alley-oops that have happened today, he's been the one throwing the ball.
Ross wanted a foul, and Tane Prichter slow to get up on the far side of the court. Wood missed the three, slapped out of bounds by Washington, and it's Oregon basketball. It's Prichter back up on his feet, ready to go on his side of the court.
Good to see him back up. You don't want to see anyone get hurt in this basketball game, for sure.
Mora, skip pass to a goalie. Caden Harris, the three, his second of the game. Just a smooth stroke from the outside, confident all the way through.
Yes, it held the follow through, just nice balance right there, nice arc. It's a very good shot. And I know Chico State is really excited about what they're about to get.
Almost had a steal right there. Instead, it's Jonas Latour with another basket.
And J-Dub with another assist. Ooh,
nice. Take for Ross. He gets fouled. He'll head to the line.
I like Malik Ross. You know, he's one of those guys that is able to utilize his body, just be able to create space. He changes speeds. He's a tough guard.
Ross short on that free throw attempt.
He's got to make his free throws. And the type of player that he is, the type of body that he has, he's going to get fouled a lot. He's going to get you the free throw line. He's going to have to be able to convert those free throws, get these easy points.
Prichter now out of the game for Oregon. Coming back into the game is Samaje Morgan.
See if they can pick up the defensive intensity when small is the Oregon team.
Jaden Stevens with the ball now. And it looked like he was looking for Joshua Wood near the baseline. Some miscommunication between the teammates leads to a turnover.
Jaden Stevens says, well, at Gonzaga Prep, we cut back to the basket. And Malik Harrington is saying, well, at Auburn, we go around the corner looking for the three.
As Mora tried to take it to the hoop, gets fouled from behind by Trey Blasingame.
You know, Trey Blasingame, these are the things that as a coach that you like to see. It may not be all, everyone may not recognize it, but that Trey Blasingame, he doesn't stop talking. He's always talking to his teammates. He's high-fiving. He's the best communicator that I've seen. And I watched practice again, and I see he never stopped communicating to his team throughout the whole time. He's calling out defense assignments, and I can see why Auburn has such a good basketball season.
Auburn, Blasingame along with Arrington. Those two players helped Auburn win their first ever state title this past season. Joshua Wood, football commit to Fresno State. Gatorade Football Player of the Year in Washington. Latour again can't finish, had his own offensive rebound, can't put it back. Ross gets fouled. And that'll be called on number 13, Joshua Wood. And that should be double bonus now, the 10th foul on Washington.
You know, again, Oregon with a small lineup here, 3 guards, and one thing about it, 3-point guards, if you can get that rebound, then you eliminate one outlet pass. These guys can push the basketball up the court, and that's what you're about to see right there. Got that foul. Malik Ross headed to the free throw line.
Ross missing the free throw, just 1 of 2 again. The free throw woes continue for Oregon. Morgan creating space for himself off the mark, and what a putback! Dallin Morgan cleaning up. Washington with it now, poked away. Morgan has another defender by him. The acrobatic shot can't go.
Just took off just a little bit from too far.
Blasingame, transition 3. Washington trying to keep the rebound, foot on the end line. Oregon basketball.
Small lineup is working. You see that pressure that Samaje Morgan is putting on the ball handler right there. I mean, he ripped. Was that Joshua Wood or was that Jaden Stevens? I think it was Jaden Stevens. He ripped him from behind. That's not easy to do. These guys can handle the basketball, but when you type that type of pressure defense that Samaje Morgan is putting on you, then you can create a lot of turnovers.
Washington calling a timeout with 4:20 left to go in the first half. It's a 12-point lead for Washington. And Oregon slowly making their way back in this game. At one point, Washington was up by 20-plus points. And just a smaller lineup, like you just said, Samaje Morgan getting his hands in there, getting a couple of steals, setting up his team on their side of the court. Unfortunately, the free throws have been a huge issue for Oregon. They have not been able to knock down both free throws on any attempt so far. So shooting about 50%. We've seen them miss on a 3-point opportunity after the and one.
And when you get yourself down by 20-plus points, you have to make up. It's easier for you to make up that differential at the free throw line when the clock is stopped. So you have to make those free throws in order to continue making up this big deficit that you're in. And, you know, a lot of times you make 1 or 2 and people don't think that that's that big a deal. But it is a big deal. You need those points with clock stop scoring right there. And so if Oregon wants to get back, they're going to have to start hitting their free throws and continue to play defense.
Morgan gives it up to Malik Ross. Pass inside to Dyer. Fade away from Blasingame, off the mark.
That was a good executed, well executed play right there. But again, Trey Blasingame talking, and he sort of read the play, got the switch.
Steal by Dyer. Dyer in trouble. Gives it up to Morgan. Now it's Caden Harris. Heat check as he already hit 2 of them earlier. All air, that attempt.
Can't be mad at that. Like you said, heat check.
Carson Frawley checking in for Washington. Yeah, in these types of games, if you're feeling it, you have to put it up. Your team's losing right now as well, so you're not upset with that type of shot.
No, I'd have shot it, and I had to shoot it again the next time I get it, just to make sure if that heat check was wrong.
3 put up and no good by Patterson. That time it falls, though, for Carson Frawley. Senior from Camas High School, averaging 21.5 points and almost 6 rebounds per game this season. A foul as Morgan will head to the line.
Carson Frawley isn't hesitating. Somewhere along the way, he made up his mind that I am a shooter, and I'm going to show everybody that I'm a shooter. He's catching it, and as soon as this hits his hand, it's flying out of it. He's not worried about anything else right at this point.
Samaje Morgan, 20 points, 6 assists, and 4 steals per game this season. League MVP and first team all-conference out of Churchill High School. Donatello Tumper will check in for Oregon.
You see, both teams have went away from the mass substitutions. It looked like at the beginning it would be easy. You know, I will sub 5 in, 5 out, 5 in, 5 out. Everybody will play 10 minutes a half, and we'll just go with that. But as you see, the game sort of got out of hand, and they had to start making some adjustments. And so that mass substitution has gone by the wayside.
Arrington ran into his own man, lost the ball. Metz able to recover it for Washington. Metz almost triple teamed. Ross doing a good job trying to stay in front of him, but Metz can't finish on the way up. Long lead pass up to Morgan, and the layup. This is exactly what Oregon needed. They're trying to stay in this game as they trail by 11. Two different scores on the scoreboard right now. One says Oregon's down by 6. The other one says they're down by 11. Morgan, baseline jumper, halfway down and out.
I think those lights might be out on that one over there.
Arrington. Yep, that's exactly what it is. So
there's
so a 13-point lead for Oregon. Dyer with it, far wing. Step back to get the shot over his man, but it's short. Jaden Stevens playing tough defense.
Frawley.
Almost again, unloading from deep.
I love it. I love a shooter, man. I love guys that shoot the basketball. They don't have any hesitation, if they can make them.
Metz trying to get the alley-oop up to Carson Frawley. Ends up out of bounds in Oregon basketball.
The alley-oops right there. The idea was there, just, again, that defender hustling back is what caused the pass to go awry, because you got to try to throw it much faster than you normally would.
We've seen Washington trying to do that 2 or 3 times already in today's game. Add some excitement to this showcase as Oregon trailing by 13. Dallin Morgan missing from 3. Jaden Stevens gets fouled by Vukua.
There's a lot of athletes on this Washington team. They can get the basketball. Whoever grabs the rebound can push the ball up the floor and do something good with it. That's a big advantage.
Yeah, we've seen just about everybody bring the ball up for Washington.
You know, on my team, I try to make an emphasis. I want my guards to lead us in rebound. And just for that same fact right there, if our guards can get the rebound, we can get that ball up the court a whole lot faster than having to wait, trying to find an outlet and all that other stuff. So we want our guards to get in and rebound the basketball. And as you see, that's what Washington is doing. They've been able to, the guys that can handle the basketball are grabbing the rebound and pushing the ball up the floor.
And James, you're coaching at North De La Salle High School, correct?
De La Salle North.
Yep.
Yes.
Had a chance to make it to a few state championship games. Won one, a couple of them didn't go your way, but you know how to get the most out of your players, especially in a situation like this. Now, this isn't a state tournament. A bit more relaxed, a bit more fun with this being a showcase. But what have you seen from the play so far from both sides that you've liked?
Well, you know, you really can't tell that this is a showcase. The only reason why you know it's a showcase is because you can see the rosters and you have the stats from their high school careers. But other than that, these guys are going after it. There's not a lot of, bad passes, ill-advised shots. These guys are trying to win the basketball game. And I've had the opportunity to coach in one of these all-star games. Not at this, it was a smaller school all-star game, but you can see guys really want to win at that level. It's not like the NBA all-star game.
Stevens making the free throw, pushing that lead up to 15. Samaje Morgan to Dyer, to Vukula. Skip pass to Dallin Morgan. Spin move in the paint, too strong with the right. And we have a foul. Bryce Dyer got in the face of Malik Arrington on that rebound.
The Washington team is challenging every shot by the Oregon team, and they're making it very difficult for them to run through their offense, and that's what's causing Oregon problems right now. Washington is really locked in on playing defense.
Metz pulls up from the free throw line, gets the friendly bounce, and it goes. Oregon puts up the three. The smallest man on the court making a big difference right now for Oregon. It'll stay with Washington. The ball continued to follow Morgan out of bounds.
He's got that makeup speed. It looked like Metz was going to blow by him, but man, he made that gap up and made a great defensive play right there.
Frawley gives it up to Patterson. Tough shot on the baseline, fading away.
Step back, fade away. Again, you got to be strong enough to make that shot. It looks easier than it is.
5 seconds left in the half. As Morgan gets tripped up and falls into the hands of Jaden Stevens after getting fouled. Bryson Metz will pick up that foul. That's his third personal.
Samaje Morgan is a problem right now. He puts that pressure on the defense. He's attacking the basket. Washington has some good defenders, but I don't know if they have anyone that can consistently stay in front of Morgan.
Now he reminds me a bit of a guard I used to watch in Chase Adams. He was over at the University of Portland. He stands about 5'8", but quick first step, beats your man on the dribble and attacks the basket, as we saw right there, to beat the buzzer. It's Carson Frawley again for Washington. And it's 58-41, a 17-point lead now for Washington. Oregon did a good job of getting it back within 9 at one point. They were down by 11, and now it's back up to a 17-point lead. Your thoughts on the first half, though, James, between these two teams?
Well, let's just talk about that last play right there. You know, again, that's on a free throw. They miss the free throw like we talked earlier about, 1 of 2. Get the rebound and you get an outlet, a full court outlet with layup with 3 seconds left in the half. That's what's really been happening in this game today. Washington is just a little bit more in tune with what's going on. Oregon team is still trying to figure some things out. They get an easy basket right there to end the half, and Oregon has had to had to work real hard for every basket that they've gotten, and that just hasn't been the same on both ends of the floor.
If you're Oregon, making some adjustments at halftime, what would you try to do if you were them?
Well, you know, the 3-guard rotation that they had in there for a while, that worked. You have to be able to make Washington a little bit more uncomfortable in their offense. So maybe you go with the 3 guards, and then the big fella, hopefully Prichter is healthy and he can come back, because when he was in the game, they were able to get some things down low. But you got to try to find the right order or find the right matchup that can get you back in the game defensively first.
For Washington, there's not much you really need to change. You talked about it in that first half. A lot of team play, moving that ball around, and that seems to be the recipe for success. And they, for the most part, could probably keep doing that in the second half.
Yes, in Washington, like we said, they have wings that can play defense, and they are really making it hard for Oregon to run their offense. There's not we haven't seen very many wide open looks for the Oregon team. We haven't seen very many easy buckets. They have to work real hard to get a bucket. And if Washington continues to play defense like this, again, everybody is talking, they're communicating. They just look to be a little bit more in sync. And if they can just do that again in the second half, then they'll be looking at good results.
I mean, leading scorers in that first half, Jonas Latour had 14 points to go along with 2 rebounds. And then for Oregon, Samaje Morgan, you talked about him being the force for Oregon. Only 2 of 7 shooting from the floor, but 4 of 6 from the free throw line. He has 10 points, leading the way for Oregon. And then back on the Washington side, Carson Frawley, he also has 10 points, 2 of 4 as he's hit a couple of corner threes, opening up the difference between these two teams.
And the other thing that sticks out here in this box score in the first half are the assists.
Mm-hmm.
You take a look at the Washington team, 15 assists on 24 made buckets. The Oregon team with only 8 assists right there. So we're moving the basketball around. They're sharing the basketball, much like the women's team did in the first game that we had.
And Washington's putting up shots too. They've got 10 more shots in this game so far. But the turnovers, really, you look at it, you'd expect a big discrepancy between those two. Both teams really holding on to the ball, 7 and 6 turnovers each in those 20 minutes of play.
Right, so the turnovers is pretty even in that regard. The percentage, the first half percentage, Washington 51%, Oregon is shooting 37%. That just shows how much easier it is for Washington to get good looks. Oregon, they have to work for everything that they're getting, and it's demonstrated out here in the 37% field goal percentage.
All right. There were a lot of substitutions in that first half between these two. You talked about the guard play for Oregon. Prichter will be a factor playing in that second half. You know, we highlighted some of these players during the women's game at halftime. Donatella Tupper was one of those guys. Physically, he seems like he's in the right spot, making some nice moves. Unfortunately, he hasn't really converted that into any points for Oregon to make a difference.
Yeah, you know, and I think he's in that position to where he's playing he's playing against some wing players that are really highly athletic. One of the things that Donatello Tupper does is one of his biggest advantages is his athleticism, and he's able, in today's game, he's playing against guys that are as athletic as him. So in the second half, he's going to have to mix it up a little bit more to get himself more involved in this game.
And now we bring in Dave. Dave, you were here for the women's game earlier at 1 p.m. You know, could you talk about what happened in that game? It was a 40-point victory or close to it for Washington. What happened in that girls' game at 1 p.m. today?
Well, for one thing, that was a high-scoring game, 126-91. Washington was up at one time by 39. They wound up winning by 35. The player of the game was Kira Gardner for Washington. She's headed to Washington State next year. She's a 6-foot senior. Her teammate, Lauren Glazer, is 6'4". She's also going to Washington State next year. Between the two of them, they had 44 points. But Glazer had 24 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 5 steals for the game. Glazer had 9 rebounds and 20 points for the game, but there's 2 stats that are going to stick out for that game. And James and I talked about them during the broadcast. The points in the paint, Washington 68, Oregon 28. And then the other thing, the shooting percentage for the game, 58% from the field for Washington, 38% in the field for Oregon. Oregon never led in the game. It was a complete wire-to-wire victory for Washington. So a big win for them, 35-point win, and a domination inside.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Dave, for the update on the girls basketball game earlier. Let's give a thank you to our sponsors here at WAVOR: V&B Philanthropy, The Barbers, Dana and Scott Kress, Beaverton Toyota, Lux and Forbes Global Properties, Dark Horse, Alex and Mike Troe, Ferguson Wellman Capital Management, Sunset Imports, John Herman, Pacific Seafood, DC Builders, Johnny and Lori Coppedge, and Casey Flicker, as we thank you all for your sponsors here at WAVOR's Northwest Showcase. We're about 4 minutes away from starting the second half here at Liberty High School. We'll be right back on Oregon Sports Beat Live. Welcome back to Liberty High School for the WAVOR Northwest Showcase. Bryan Sleik and James Broadous with your call. 53-41 lead right now for Washington over Oregon. And James, you and I were just talking before we got back on the air, looking at the points in the paint. You talked about how Washington was worried about the height and the size of Oregon, but Washington leading points in the paint 28-20, and not only that, they're leading in second chance points. They've gotten 11 of them compared to Oregon's 2 in that first half.
Yes, and if this was a regular season game, I'm sure Coach would be going off in the locker room regarding those second chance points. You can't give up that many second chance points, and if you do, then you need to be getting some of your own. But 11-2 on second chance points, that's big.
But defensively, something's going to have to change for Oregon as well. Washington shot 51.1% in that first half as they hit 24 of 47 shots. Caden Harris missing the first shot for Oregon to start off the second half.
Another highly contested shot right there. Good solid defense.
3 no good for Washington as Prichter gets the rebound. Malik Ross spins, kicks it out to Julian Mora, the nephew of Jim Mora Jr. Missing there. Washington on the move. Latour again. He has 16 points now. He had 14 in the first half.
6 of 9 shooting.
Mora making his first shot. Made 1 free throw in the first half. He now has 4 points. Beautiful pass inside by Joshua Wood.
Now, you said Joshua Wood is going to Fresno State on a football scholarship.
That is correct, yeah.
What position does he play?
He's a quarterback.
Of course. I can see the reason why I asked that right then is because he is seeing the floor. He's making all the right passes, all the right decisions. And if you would have told me he was going to be a linebacker or something, I would have took off running. But it's no doubt that guy can play.
He was the Washington State Gatorade Football Player of the Year. He's also had 5 different publications name him the Football Player of the Year in the state of Washington. Prichter causing the off-balance shot. Put back, though, by Dylan Darling. 22-point lead now for Washington.
That was another second chance point right there. Second chance bucket. Uh-oh.
Blasingame with it. Gives it up to Darling. Almost makes it look so easy from the lefty, and you see why he was averaging 33 points a game this season. He now has 10 points in the game after only have 5 in the first half. Caden Harris. Now he gets back into the 3 game after missing a couple in a row. Caden Harris now has 10 points. Prichter couldn't get the rebound. Washington tried to save it, and they did.
That's the thing. When you go small, when you go with your 3-guard lineup, and this is a different level of 3-guard lineup, you lose some rebounding, and that's what's happening right now. So as I said at halftime that they may want to go to the 3-guard lineup, now I'm going to pull that back and say you may want to go big, and because you cannot continue to give up second opportunities to score.
Well, Oregon just switched out a big for another big as Donatello Tupper checked into the game. Darling comes back out of the paint, gives it up to Blasingame. Got his man to go by as he lost the ball, and he finishes with a layup in the right hand.
Everybody who touches the basketball for Washington can put the ball in the basket.
Tupper, the corner 3, short. Washington moving up quickly. It's Joshua Wood, cross court to Dylan Darling. Tough take against Mora. He'll head to the line for a 3-point play.
That spin move is deadly. Man, you can even know it's coming, but he's still crafty enough to get through the hole and put that ball up somewhere that's going to draw him a foul.
Darling will make the 3-point play happen. His dad, James, was a linebacker at Washington State. Darling will be following in his father's footsteps and being a Cougar at Washington State beginning in the fall. Just recently made his commit back on March 24th. Mora, a deep three. No good. Offensive rebound for Oregon. Mora has the quick ball handles, able to break you down as a goalie gets past Blasingame, but Blasingame, the recover in the block from behind.
Just when you think you buy them, just when you think you got an easy layup, that length and that athleticism comes back into play, and they charge and they turn it into a tough shot. Oh.
Inbound to Tupper. Caden Harris going up against Joshua Wood. Beat his man initially, and a tough take. He gets blocked at the rim. Bilodeau gives it up to the corner three, and it goes for Jonas Latour. And Latour just continues to score for Washington. Malik Ross got Latour to leave his feet, now gives it up to Donatello Tupper. Ogoli, corner three. That one falls for Oregon. Gets them back under 30. But Dylan Darling, the finish with the right hand at the hoop. As Oregon calls a timeout with 15:26 left to go in the second half. And right now they're not having any luck defensively. It seems like they give up a basket on one end, then they come back and make a basket, and then another basket for Washington. They just can't really make any type of headway on this team.
No, you can't trade baskets when you're down by 20-something points. You will never get back in the game if you do that math. They have to be able to get stops. And as you see, Coach Doty, he's a little bit upset. Again, this is an all-star game. You want to try to keep it loose, but you can see that he gets up, calls that timeout with some authority. He's really not happy. And at some point, that's going to boil over, and he's going to get on his guys.
So far, about 4 minutes into this second half, we haven't seen Samaje Morgan, who has been a big factor for Oregon. Now, usually he's been switching time with Julian Mora at the point guard position for them. But he had 10 points. He was the leading scorer for them in that first half, and now we see him checking in for the first time in the second half.
Yes, and you can bet that he's a difference maker. He's going to try to get after it. He's going to try to pick up this intensity, and that's what they need. And they have gone really small. They've gone to 4 guards and Donatello Tupper. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to pick up some type of pressure, full court pressure defense. What was that?
Ball was tipped by Washington.
Oh.
I see what you're saying, almost over and back.
Over and back, back and over again, over easy.
Dylan Darling gives it up to Bilodeau. Bilodeau will be heading to Oregon State in the fall. Morgan had it poked out from behind. Dylan Darling running the court now. The acrobatic finish around Malik Ross.
Dylan Darling has made the plays on both ends, picking the pocket of Morgan and then creating the plays on the other side for the finish.
Bilodeau going up against Tupper. The right-hand finish. Now you can see why he's going to be playing on the next level.
Yes, he knows. That's good. That's nice, as Shaquille O'Neal says. Feet work right there. Gets into the spot that he wants and just shoots right over the top of Donatello Tupper. The thing with this Oregon lineup, again, you probably want to pick up the intensity. You want to pick up the pressure, maybe go some full court, but you can't score. It's hard to set up your press. It's hard to set your defense if you're not scoring. And Oregon is having a tough time scoring, so that 4-guard lineup turns back into a traditional 3-2 here.
Mora goes to the bench as Dallin Morgan comes into the game for Oregon. Goalie with the finish. Bryson Metz checks back in, along with Quinn Patterson for Washington. Morgan takes it away from Metz. Great job sealing off the defender from behind, preventing Jaden Stevens to get the block on Morgan. Dallin Morgan with the block on Malik Arrington.
There you go, that's it, piece by piece. Again, another big steal by Samaje Morgan, just reaching around. He's really good at that. You got to always protect the ball with him anywhere in the vicinity. A couple stops on defense, well.
Stevens off the inbound play. Ross trying to attack the hoop down the court. It gets fouled as he put up a shot on the baseline. Foul called on Malik Arrington.
Bully ball. Right at that point, he's just going to the basket. He's going to try to bully his way to the basket. He got the foul. Let's see if he can capitalize on both free throws this time.
Ross was 2 for 5 from the free throw line in the first half. Now make it 2 for 6 overall. Ross shoots 71.5% from the charity stripe. Despite his woes from the line, his free throw shooting in that Oregon State tournament was a big reason why Tualatin was able to pick up their first state title in basketball. So not very characteristic from the Timberwolves. Mets. Lost it for a second. Frawley.
My guy Frawley, he's getting him up. If he touches it again, oh!
Almost a travel, and there they do call a travel as the ball goes out of bounds, slipping through the hands of Quinn Patterson.
Frawley's like, that's why I shoot it.
Yeah.
That's why I shoot it. I don't do this passing and this dribbling stuff. Give me the basketball where I can shoot it. You want me to do this other stuff, I'm going to travel. Give me the rock.
Agoli picks up his dribble, gives it back to Samaje Morgan. Morgan pulls up 3. In and out. Stevens with a rebound. Crosses up Tupper. And poked from behind by Dow and Morgan. Samaje Morgan looks like he was set up to take a charge.
He was set up to take a charge. He was underneath the hoop, though, so I don't know if they had gave it to him, but he was setting up for the charge.
Patterson gives it up to his teammate and a foul called. Frawley tried to dunk it. He will now head to the free throw line. Carson Frawley, all-state selection this past season, co-conference MVP out of Camas High School. He was first team all-conference last year, and we've seen it here today that this guy scores in bunches. And he's got the green light to shoot from anywhere. Undecided on where he's going to be attending school in the fall.
Well, if some people are watching, if some coaches are watching this game right now, he may end up picking up a couple more offers. You can just look at the mentality that he has on the basketball court. As a coach, you want a guy with that type of basketball mentality.
A goalie falls to the ground. Mets a shot off the mark. Dyer with it. Pass inside to Tupper. Almost finished it. Would have been unbelievable. His back was to the hoop as he received that pass and still put it up. Didn't go. He'll head to the line for 2.
Yeah, that's the type of athlete he is. You know, he makes plays. He makes some things happen out of nothing. He can make bad passes look like good passes. And he was, and he's not afraid to, to try some unorthodox shots. He's got to make his free throws, though, as well. Senior
from Roosevelt High School. Undecided on where he's going, averaging just under 13 points per game and 4.5 rebounds. Second team All-League this past season. You talk about his scoring, but also considered a really good defender as he can defend just about anybody on the court as we get a jump ball right there by Tupper.
Good help side defense. Jaden Stevens dribbled right into the defense, and Tupper was able to tie him up. Now they're questioning the arrow. As a coach, you always yell, they had the last one. You don't know of her now. You just say, they had the last one, they had the last one. See if you can get somebody to bite.
Sell it.
Yeah, at the bare minimum, you stop the game, and somebody in the crowd believes you.
It's Arrington inbounded for Washington. That's the jump stop, got his man to go by. Metz now has 4 points. Spin move by Samaje Morgan, blocked from behind by Malik Arrington.
Another example of great help side defense. You know, most block shots should come from the help side defender, and that's what happened right there. Samaje Morgan had put that quick spin move that we've seen Dylan Darling do right there, and he created a little bit of space, but the block from the backside. Malik Arrington prevents 2 points.
Arrington, great story out of Auburn High School. Missed a good portion of the season dealing with a leg injury. So there's a foul called on the floor. It'll be on number 32, Malik Arrington. Now he returned just in time to make it for the state playoffs for Auburn, and a big reason why him and Blasingame were able to get the first state title for Auburn High School in basketball this season.
That's a great story. You know, that's back in my day, that was Terrell Brandon had that same story when he played high school basketball for Grant. Came back for the state playoffs and led his team to a championship. Malik Arrington, he must be completely healed, because from what I saw in practice yesterday, he was above the rim on every opportunity.
And there's the teamwork from Washington getting Metz a basket inside. Dyer, the mid-range. Dyer from North Medford High School. Average just over 12.5 points per game this season. Skip pass to Frawley.
Never met a shot he didn't like.
Well, the way he's shooting, I can see why. As a goalie, strong off the glass.
Goes for the lob.
Almost had the putback. Offensive board again for Washington. They have just done a terrific job out hustling, out rebounding Oregon today.
Trying to work this mismatch down here.
15 on the shot clock. Metz puts up the three. Tupper now in transition for Oregon. Oh, he puts it down over Jaden Stevens. It almost looked like Washington in transition defense. That's a two. His foot was on the line as that one goes.
Wow.
For Quinn Patterson.
That's what we talked about earlier. That's what you can see from Tupper right there. Donatello Tupper with the highlight film, the highlight reel of the day.
Almost looked like in that transition dunk that Washington was slowing down with a couple of his men following behind him, that he might dish it off, but he decided to take it all the way himself.
Right, and he set that up.
Yep.
You know, you slow it down, you make the defense think that you're going to do something different, and he has that type of athleticism to rise up above the crowd and flush on somebody's head.
Ogoli gives it up to Morgan. The deke to get by his man. And the finish on the baseline by Samaje Morgan. He has been a pleasant surprise for the Oregon team today. It's a timeout called on the floor with just under 10 minutes left to go here in the second half. 30-point lead for Washington. And a big reason for that is their rebounding and their second chance points. They've had a ton of them today. And Oregon really just hasn't had anything to really stop them. They don't have a lot of opportunities to get a rebound and prevent a second chance opportunity. They just don't have that size or consistency going for them.
No, they don't. And Coach Conley for Washington, he was concerned yesterday about Oregon's size. He was wanting his team to be able to withstand the physicalness that he thought that Oregon was going to bring. And either they're handling it really well or they're not getting and they're not seeing it as much as they thought they were going to, because those second chance points and points in the paint are really hurting Oregon squad.
Washington already ready to go out of the timeout. On the court, we've got Frawley, Arrington, Darling. And it looks like Jaden Stevens as well. Dyer, Morgan, Tupper, Dallin Morgan, and Zeke Vukula on the court for Oregon. Blasingame and Latour ready to check back in for Washington, the next dead ball. Darling, skip pass to the corner. Patterson has it just inside the three-point line. Patterson's going to UC San Diego in the fall, part of the Big West Conference. And I feel like that type of shot that he just took is almost a lost art in the game now. Everybody's always shooting the three or they're trying to go for the dunks. But if you have a solid mid-range game like he just had, stepping in front of that three-point line, you can be dangerous at the next level.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. There's a lot of people that don't. Okay.
Tupper with the putback dunk.
Man, that guy, he's athletic. Oh,
Frawley almost had a dunk of his own in response.
Okay.
All right, Oregon, the ball movement between the Morgans.
Morgan and Morgan. Sounds like a law firm right there. I like it. A little bit of excitement.
Slight push on Morgan, no call on Darling. Patterson, the three, no good. Offensive rebound and the putback by Jaden Stevens. Long pass up the court, and Tupper again. Easy finish inside.
Tupper has brought some excitement. You can see the crowd getting into it a little bit. And just there's some life in that Oregon team. You want to see that. Even though they're down by a bunch, you don't want them to just go quietly into the night. They're fighting. They're still playing hard, creating some memories here in this big game.
Latour, Bilodeau, and Blasingame checking back in, along with Joshua Wood. So 4 new players on the court for Washington. Bilodeau got fouled as he went up inside for the hook shot.
You know, as a fan, even as a coach, you want to see that call not made. You know, get the game going a little bit. That he may have fouled him a little bit, but you didn't have to make that call. Let the game go. Let the flow happen. And as you can see, the Coach Doty is talking to the referee, saying the same thing. As referee Stetson James, been doing this for a long time.
Bilodeau goes 2 for 2. Bilodeau was nominated for the McDonald's All-American game this season. As Morgan, again, another strong take and finish.
You know, I'm a McDonald's All-American, too. I love McDonald's. You know, as much money as I've spent there, they call me an All-American as well.
Yeah, I'm a number 10 guy. Turnover for Washington.
Uh-oh.
Down Morgan, tough take. His arm was being held as he gave up the shot, but Washington now in transition. Darling gives it up, and Bilodeau puts it back down.
Nice pass. This drop off for the dunk right there by Darling. He's showing his whole complete game as well.
Samaje Morgan gets fouled before he goes down the baseline. And call was on number 33, Dylan Darling. 4th team foul for Washington, and it looks like fresh legs for Oregon. Harris, Prichter, Ogoli, Ross, and Mora on the court. Ross has it near the block. In the paint now. And a foul called going up against Jonas Latour. Foul was on the ground. Latour needs an extra moment. He's off the court now. Still trying to work himself back on.
Looked like he just threw a tooth into the garbage. I hope not, because you can use that tooth. Speaking to a guy who got a tooth knocked out playing basketball before, they need that tooth to put it back.
Couldn't give it to the coaches. Bilodeau, he needs a moment for himself as Prichter puts down his 4th dunk in the game. And now Tane is going to check up on the opposing player. I didn't happen to see what happened before that play. And my only guess is the way that Prichter responded going up to Bilodeau, and maybe he caught him with an elbow. Unintentional, of course.
Right, right. You know, again, everybody's still playing hard. They're still playing aggressive. You obviously don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Stevens almost had the putback. He just hung up in the air, and Joshua Wood denied by Prichter. That was close to being off the glass and almost a goaltend.
Right.
Caden Harris knocking down the 3 on the other side. Well, that's a 5-point swing right there for Oregon. Instead of giving up the 2, you get a 3 on the other end. Joshua Wood, fantastic finish.
He's an amazing athlete. If you think about all the accolades that he got, that he has received for football, but he's a great basketball player as well. You don't see very many two-sport, and you don't see any three-sport athletes anymore. But he's doing it well.
He was first team All-State or All-League in basketball as well. Stevens will head to the bench. Latour, Darling, Bilodeau right there as the water bottle falls onto the court.
They're throwing water bottles at the referee. The kids are not happy with the officiating. What is going on? Coach going to have to get on the microphone and tell everybody to please refrain from throwing.
Mora wants the deep three, and that one circles out. You know, in doing the research for this game, you know, in the uniforms that they have as Blasingame can't finish it, but the tip back by Darling. But you got yourself a bit of Blazers action. It looks like some Supersonics uniforms as a goalie off the mark.
Yeah, nicely done with the design.
Bilodeau had it and lost it to Julian Mora. Nice subtle touch to the franchises in the NBA and former franchises as Mora, another deep three, doesn't go. Blasingame, lead pass up to Wood, the slam! And then Mora talking with the referee as he's coming up the court and why he didn't get that call. Dylan Darling, he gets fouled. Darling, he just has a motor that doesn't quit. You're constantly seeing him attack the basket and put the ball up, and he's getting back to the free throw line.
He's left-handed, he's crafty. He's going to be, I believe that he'll have a pretty good year or a pretty good career at the next level. And you said he signed recently?
Yeah, Washington State.
Washington State, yes. I look forward to watching them. And that's one of the things that we get to benefit from. Now we sort of know these players more at a closer level, and now for me, I'll have an opportunity to follow them and sort of just figure out how well they did at the next level and just have something to look for when watching these basketball games. So I'll be honest with you, this year college basketball was probably the least amount of games that I've watched. Going into this tournament, this March Madness tournament, I didn't know who to pick because I don't watch college basketball. And now I have the opportunity at least to watch some college basketball games because now I know some players.
You're busy coaching up your own team, right?
Yes, that's true. But it's also a point to the fact that college basketball is not what it used to be, you know. And the players, they're not as fan-friendly. You don't know as many players. Players aren't staying in college long time anymore, so it's a lot of one and done for a lot of guys that should not be one and done. And so you just don't have the opportunity to get to know them like you used to.
And also, what seems like more prominently over the last couple of years, the transfer portal. You get a lot of kids that are on your roster for about one season, maybe two if you're lucky, and if they're not seeing a lot of playing time, they'll most likely jump into the transfer portal.
Yeah. And some kids are transferring, even if they are seeing playing time. You're surprised, like, wow, they're entering the transfer portal. And, it has its good and its bad benefits.
As Darling goes 2 for 2 from the free throw line. Vukula with it, lost it with Joshua Wood on defense. So we're under 5 minutes left here in the second half. 113-78. Washington is leading Oregon. Coming into this game, I hadn't had a chance to watch many of these Washington players as a goalie. Short on the three, almost an offensive rebound. Yes, it is for Julian Mora in Oregon. But having watched the Oregon players play in the state tournament, I thought this one might be a bit closer with these two teams running up and down the court, exchanging baskets. Washington has just been able to out-rebound Oregon, and that's given them second chance opportunities, and I feel like that has been a big difference in this game, that and the free throw line for Oregon.
Yes, those two things, And one of the things I wonder is I know the Washington team, they came down, they stayed overnight in the hotel, all that. I wonder if the Oregon players were staying in the hotel or if they were at their own homes individually, A lot of teams play better on the road. You see that in the NBA a lot of times. And in situations like this, it makes you draw closer together. And this Washington team, they just look to be more in sync. And I wonder if it had anything to do with just the travel together and you staying together and all that type of stuff that happens when you're in this type of a situation.
Mets with it. Under 4.5 left to go. Patterson over Prichter, no good. Goalie to Ross. Ross, not a big three-point shooter, knocks it down. Only shooting 27% from three this season. Washington trying to respond with one of their own. Julian Mora tried to take it away. Washington still with it. Oh, and the put down by Jaden Stevens. His teammates loving that one on the bench.
Yes, they are. The universal signal for dunk on your head right there. With the one step, just basically off vert. Again, creating highlights and creating memories. You just hope that you see all these cameras. If you're Jaden Stevens, you're hoping that the cameras got that. If you're Tanae Prichter, you're hoping that all the cameras broke right before that.
Type of film you don't want to look back on.
Right.
Goalie, the feed pass to Tupper. They trying to get some type of alley-oop going, but Tupper, the pass, is taking him out of bounds behind the basket. Never really had much of a chance on that play. Ross almost forcing a turnover. Now a goalie with it. What a play by Jaden Stevens, hitting the deck and gives his team an opportunity to score as Carson Frawley cashes in. Ross short. And that's not strong enough. Frawley hits the underside of the rim. Still Washington basketball. Patterson tried to use the glass, no good. Vukula had it taken away from him. Jaden Stevens!
There's too much athleticism there on the Washington side. That's really what it's going to come down to, or what it has come down to.
Caden Harris showing off his range shooting, but missing there. A couple of those today. Metz steps into the wing three. Up to Tupper. Gather, step, and jam.
He jumps so easily, you know, just sort of effortlessly.
Frawley with it. Patterson rattles home a three. And a 39-point lead right now for Washington. Point to finish by Malik Ross. Team down by 37. With 2 minutes left to go. Turnover, Washington.
Malik Ross still playing that defense up top.
He was a defensive player of the year in his league. And if you know anything about defenders, that's mainly how they get on the court. That's their business.
And they don't know any other way. It's just, I don't care what the score is. This is just what I do. My default is playing defense. And as you can see, calls a turnover.
Jaden Stevens didn't think he fouled Samaje Morgan.
Jaden Stevens is trying to block everything, dunk everything. Right now, he's just really trying to create more highlights. He wants to beat things up on the backboard. He's, you know, he's just having a good time out here, playing basketball the way it's supposed to be played, and the free throw woes continue.
Yeah, Oregon went in the first half, which is 9 of 17, shooting 52%, and I'd say they're pretty darn close to that here in the second half as well. Metz trying to feed Frawley, bounces around in the paint. Patterson steps inside the three-point line, strong. Vukula with it. Transition three, knocks it down. The senior from West Lynn. His team took home third place at the 6A championships a couple weeks ago. He and Oregon commit and teammate Jackson Shellstad. We're able to take third place. Now Vukula again. Underneath, gets denied. Notice Samaje Morgan getting out of the way at that time of Jaden Stevens. So I want no business with that. Oh, the alley-oop to Tupper.
Tupper showing his athleticism. Nice pass right there on the alley-oop. A minute ago, Samaje Morgan, he made a business decision. I'm getting out of the way. I'm not going to be inside any pictures.
High to Tupper. Cross to Morgan. Hits the three. It's a case of a bit too little too late, but you would have liked to see Oregon play with this type of camaraderie or connectiveness. Morgan in the paint. The young man takes it all the way.
Well, you know, the two players that can sort of bring this energy and get the excitement going for Oregon is Tupper and Samaje Morgan. And they were finally able to get it going here in the second half, bring them back a little bit.
Jaden Stevens with the steal and the finish. Bryce Dyer with it now, gives it up to Tupper. And that'll be it. 127 to 98. Washington has beaten Oregon in a game that had Washington lead from the beginning all the way through. There were no ties, no lead changes. Washington led from the get-go. And much like we saw in the girls' game earlier at 1 p.m., Washington just the more athletic team, fighting for those loose balls and the rebounds, and that makes the difference in the game. Those second chance points go a long way for Washington. As Jaden Stevens just had a ball slip out of his hand as he was trying to dunk.
The windmill dunk. A lot of energy that he still has, a lot of energy after playing that game. But, you know, at any level, in any league, whatever, second chance points are going to kill you or as the opposing team. And Oregon just could not keep the Washington team off the boards. And, you know, as a defense, you force them to miss a shot, but then they get the rebound, and they miss that when they get another rebound. They're not going to continue to miss. Every team's percentage drastically increases by the more opportunities that you get. And those second chance points just really hurt the Oregon squad.
Well, for Washington, who was somebody that really stood out to you, you thought maybe their player of the game? There were a lot of players that made contributions for Washington in today's victory.
You know, you could close your eyes and make a pick. Carson Frawley played well throughout the course of the game. Dylan Darling didn't disappoint. You know, he's going to the basket. We've seen Joshua Wood make a lot of plays that don't always show up in the big highlights. But I guess if I had to pick someone, I probably would come down to Jaden Stevens. I don't think you can go wrong with Jaden Stevens. Jonas Latour played well. Jonas Latour played well as well.
Samaje Morgan finished with 26 points for Oregon. He had 10 in the first half, put up 16 in the second half. Jonas Latour gets the MVP of the game for Washington. He led their squad in points.
You can't be mad at that. You know,
Nope.
If you ask 10 people, you might get 10 different answers. Jonas Latour, he played well.
As celebrating with their team right now. The Washington team gets the trophy.
And are we going to have the opportunity to speak to?
We're going to be speaking with Jaden Stevens.
Jaden Stevens.
When he finishes up with his teammates down on the court.
And right now they're taking pictures. You're going to, you know, these are moments that they're going to relish for a long time and take these pictures home. And if you're a high school kid, you put a lot of things on your wall. And they've come down, and I think Washington has beat Oregon, this makes 4 times in a row, if I remember correctly. The last 4 times that they've been able to play this game, the Washington boys team has won.
You talked about coaching in this game now at a lower level, at the 3A level. You know, is it difficult to get all the guys to buy in and play in this type of scenario, kind of like a one-off showcase situation?
Sometimes it is. You know, some players have different agendas. Some players are playing because, you know, they want me to play and I'll come out and play. I really don't want to, but I've been invited. Some people are playing because I still have not figured out what I want to do next level, and I want people to see that I can play. So you sort of have to blend the two. You typically have 1 or 2 guys on the team that really get after it and that they can lift the intensity level up in practice from the rest of the team. And so if you can get those guys, and you can see it from the Washington team. I'm not sure we saw it in action today from the Oregon team. Who was that guy that was going to get those guys, get the rest of his teammates pumped up and energized? Trey Blasingame, I tell you, he does that all the time. And it just didn't happen. And so it can be difficult, but if you have the leaders on your team that can help you, then it can just be a breeze.
And it just seemed like for Washington, everybody on that team, not saying that Oregon doesn't have it, but everybody on the team for Washington just seemed to be in that leadership role, always talking to each other. You talked about Blasingame in-game, pointing things out to his teammates to let them all know, but it just takes the leadership mentality to the next level. And you have 4, 5, 6 different guys who feel that way for that Washington team, and that's what made it such an easy victory for him today.
Right, and for all intents and purposes, I'm sure that they were all leaders on their team, on their respective high school team, and then they just came and sort of brought all that together collectively, and it showed in the 127-98 victory.
Okay.
And now we welcome Jaden Stevens from Gonzaga Prep going to Oregon State next year. Jaden, seemed like you had a blast out there, finishing on both ends of the court. What was it like to play in today's game?
Man, it was so much fun. I mean, my freshman year, getting to watch Anton play in this, and then coming here my senior year and being able to finish it with some of my guys, some of the dudes I played AAU with, was just like amazing. These last 3 days have been great, just bonding in the hotel room. So I'm excited to end it like this.
Yeah.
What type of memories will you take away from a moment like this?
Oh, so many, so many. I mean, getting here on Friday, hanging out with those dudes in the hotel room, practice, getting their gear, hanging out with each other. It was great. I mean, you just take those memories away, and just to be able to go out with a group of guys like that is awesome.
What about that dunk? Tell me about that dunk at the end. You know, I knew that at some point that is going to be something that sticks out in your mind.
Yeah.
You got the one step, go up over the big fella. Tell us about that.
Man, I had to go get it back. I had the one guy got me down here on the fast break, so I told my coach, I was like, Coach, I got to go back in there and get myself back. So I saw Quinn hit me, and I saw him take a step, so I just went up and put it on him.
Disrespectful, man. Very disrespectful.
Jaden, but before we let you go, you know, you're committed to Oregon State.
Yes, sir.
What really draw you to the Beavers program, and that's where you'll be going next fall?
Man, I went down there on my unofficial, and it just felt like home. I went down there to a football game, and school hadn't even started yet, and I just love the atmosphere. I love it down there, and I felt like I really had a genuine relationship with the coaches, and that definitely played a factor into it. And I just love it down there in Corvallis. And I mean, me and Tyler got to room together this weekend, so it was cool just kind of talking to him, and we're excited to go down there. And he's kind of saw the same things when he went down there on his visit, so it's cool to have another person there and like hang out with him and be ready to get down there.
Yeah, future teammates.
Yes, sir.
Down in Corvallis next season. Jaden, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy it with your teammates, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Let's have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
You know, I might have to be a Beaver fan now. You know, that sounds kind of tough saying it, but I might just have to be a Beaver fan.
With the way he composes himself, I'm going to have to become a Beaver fan myself.
Absolutely.
A lot of energy, great character kid. And that was Jaden Stevens joining us after Washington won their game 127-98 over Oregon. James, do you have any final thoughts on today's game?
Well, again, good game, good energy. The crowd should have still been pleased, although even if you're rooting for Oregon, you saw some good basketball. You don't know what to expect sometimes in these games, but the players, the kids came out, played their hearts out, gave us a good show. I think the Washington team just had too much athleticism, their length. You have small guards on the Oregon team, and Washington feels like, look, I can do exactly what your guards can do, and I'm 4 inches taller, you know, and that doesn't it doesn't bode well for the visiting team, or for the opposing team. So again, I'm pretty pleased with the event itself. I just think it was a great night. Washington, they played well.
Washington sweeps the WAVOR Northwest Showcase in both boys and girls basketball. That was James Broadous. Thank you to the production crew here at Liberty High School for putting on this event. I'm Bryan Sleik. Thank you for joining us on Oregon Sports Beat Live.